How y'all doing? I hope you're okay. I hope this video goes okay because I had one heck of a day yesterday. I was so far left of rational that I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what kind of mindset I was in. Hello, Zozo. I even yelled at the dogs for no reason. And they looked up at me like, they crooked their heads. Ain't that right? Didn't I yell at you? And I didn't mean to. And I didn't mean to. So I know what kicked it off. Somebody told somebody I know, and something ain't right over here. He wants to share the seat. Somebody I know that called somebody I know said something was right over here. Then the wrong person called me to address, said something ain't right over here. And then I said something over the phone that I don't regret per se. But before I got off with the phone with the person, I said, I love you. My thing is this. I'm an adult, grown woman, 65 years old. And I think it was a couple of people. It was like I went to a new doctor, and and I usually go to female doctors because they talk more and they chit chat more. Except for my very first doctor, my favorite doctor was a male doctor. He's a doctor. Oh my goodness, I can't even think of his name. But anyway, he would come up to me before he did anything, nothing. Pull his little thing up to the thing. How you doing? What's going on at home? You feeling all right? How's Eric? How are the boys? How you feeling? And just he wanted to know who I am and what was cool. And I know people don't have that kind of time anymore, although his office was pretty empty, so he could have talked to me for a long time. But this is my second visit, and he still talks to me like he doesn't know that I'm an educated person. Like he'll explain to me things. This is why you should have a good diet. I mean, he got all up in my Kool-Aid about my cholesterol, and I told him it was familial and I had been switching and this, that, and other. And he didn't seem to hear that I knew what I was talking about. And he started to explain why it's important to keep. I said, I understand all of that. I, I don't know. He just didn't stop and say, who am I talking to? He could have done this speech with anybody that presented the same way I did. But anyhow, and then somebody else called me and got all in my Kool-Aid about me not going out. And this person, I love him. I told him I love him when I got off the phone. But you cannot, I don't know. And I know she loves me and she's concerned, but don't call and yell at me about why aren't I, you know. No, I didn't go to Pilates yesterday because I don't enjoy it. I don't really enjoy the refugee things. I enjoy the refugees themselves, but the lessons, they're just so tedious for me that I'm kind of just my brain, like half hour, right? Yeah, I'm screaming, I want to go, I want to go. I want to have some fun. I want to go enjoy myself. I joined writers group. I went to the SAG after all that kind of stuff. Just joining thing. Jiu-jitsu was a whole bunch of dudes that just kind of like threw me around like a rag doll. Didn't have any fun either. And it made me 35. I might have enjoyed that, but I didn't at 65. And so leave me alone. I got my core group of chicks, 5 of them that I can call any time of day at night and tell them anything that I want to. But you can't. I don't know. I just, woo. But anyway, how y'all doing? And I knew I got cranky, and I decided, as I got paint all over myself, well, I didn't do too bad a job. I knew I wasn't rolling right. I had some crank in the back, and I couldn't get it out. So I went over to the hobby store to buy some stuff. And I get in line, and there's a woman with two big shopping carts full of little bitty things, about that big. Had a million of them. So the lady that counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20, 30, 40, 50, and she had gone through one basket. She had a whole nother basket to go, and she had the whole thing on the thing where you sell it. That was full. Then I was behind her, and there were 3 people behind me, and there were 4 people over there that worked there that pretended like they had just couldn't see us. Couldn't see us. So at one point, usually I try to be cool. I don't want to be the person to complain. I really don't. I said, is there a possibility of opening another register? Nobody said anything. Is there a possibility of opening another register? And then the lady in front of me, she's counting. I said, I understand that. Wasn't addressing her. Is there any way to get, So the one who was counting realized I wasn't going to stop. She picked up the phone. She came over and said, it's fine. We don't need to open another register. And I looked at her, and I looked down the line, and luckily 4 other people had just walked up. So she was like, oh, okay, I'll take the next person over there. Oh, and it made me so mad. It was so silly. It was so stupid. And I knew I was in the right, I knew I was in the right place vis-a-vis my headspace. I should have been home all day. Oh, I spent all day yesterday painting the trim on this new house that I'm building. Because that's all. Because that's all I could handle. I don't want to talk to nobody else. There you go. Now he just gets on there just to see if he can get on there, but he don't ever stay. But anyway, so I knew I was in the right place. At home with my dollhouse. I ordered some siding. I picked my trim color. I was painting the trim. That's something you got to concentrate. Because I knew I was in the wrong state of mind for public contact. You always got to know where your head is. You got to get your mind right. You know what I mean? You got to get your mind right. So there you go. There's my yesterday. I'm complaining, little lady story, old lady story. But I have some questions I want to answer. And I know my light is crazy. I told you, all my lights went out. Bulbs. And one of my sons said, oh, that's a sign that you ought to leave the house. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, so one lady was like me. She was 63 years old, and everybody's mad, and her husband has passed like 2 years ago around the same time mine did, and he said, she goes, I'm still mad. I can't, I tried support groups, and then she said, everybody's just pushing me and pressing me. And I understand exactly what you feel. And my problem is this. I do use people I know in different areas of my life to gauge my current state of emotional well-being. And I don't necessarily believe what everybody tells me. I know one person who is this way and sees me this way. And so I look at them and see what they see about that. Like I got one son who's all, you should go, you should do things, you should go, you should do things. And so I listened, when I decide I really want to go somewhere, I enlist that individual. But if I'm not feeling like going somewhere, I don't want to talk to him. I talk to somebody else. You do what you want when you want. Stay at home. It don't matter. It's all good. You know what I mean? But then if I listen to that person too long, because that person is a solitary creature, I got to call somebody else, and get their take on. And so I have a multitude of opinions from a multitude of people. That's why I never, people get on here, get advice, and they're very authoritative. I don't know nothing. And they just talking. but I bring in all of this, and then I read studies on happiness and on widowhood, and all that kind of stuff. One of the studies upset me because it basically said I should get my black behind out of the house because relationships are the most important thing. But I'm doing that. I'm doing the best I can in my current state of not quite correct. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a screw loose as long as you know which one it is and what to do with start to wobbling. I know I got some gears going, wonk, 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 but I'm not going to, just because you in a bad mood does not give you permission to share said mood with the rest of the world. Everybody got their own problems. Everybody. And what I should have told the phone caller yesterday was like, you should be slow to judge someone stuck on the side of a mountain you haven't been required to climb. You have never been married. You don't know where I am. You don't know what it is. You don't, but anyway, okay, fine. I'm through. I'm still mad, but I'm through. I had a nice, but then there was and I can't remember her name, and I'm so sorry. She has a daughter in the house studying for the LSAT, and we are going to start that widows group because I know exactly how you feel. It's like pressure, the push. And then sometimes you need to push yourself, and sometimes you don't. So you kind of have to, well, you should do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Well, come on a trip with me. I don't like to travel. So the idea of coming on a trip is like nothing but stress. When I went out to Oakland, when I go out for speaking engagements, I spend 90% of my time worrying about the travel arrangements. 90% of my time. So suggesting that I travel. Now, when I traveled with Eric, it was wonderful because I put my brain on low when I was with that brother. And it would be so funny because we'd be in an airport and I'd just be wandering about and not paying attention. And he'd just stand there and look at me, kind of like Dak is doing right now. And he would say, baby, how do you manage? You travel all the time without me, alone to jobs and speaking engagements, and you don't seem to know what you're doing in the airport. And I looked at him, and I didn't realize it until he said it, and then I realized that. I said, when I'm with you, I put my brain on low. Because usually I have to have my brain on high. I have to have my brain on high at work. I can't be a bad mood on the bench telling people they got to go to jail. I can't be, I got a job. I can't be a bad mood at the work at the divorce court because that's the easiest gig in the world. I'm the luckiest chick ever. You know what I mean? So can't be, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. You see this dog. And the other one is mad. Got her nose in the window. This one is just chilling. But anyhow, that's my audience. I like this audience. Even though I did fuss at him yesterday. Pooped in the house for no reason. In the middle of the day, I didn't understand it. Oh, I didn't understand it. But anyway, so, but I really wish I had the name of the 63-year-old one. But hey, how you doing? I appreciate you, and I feel just like you. And everybody tell you go to church, and you're still too bad to go to church. Although I'm going to church this Sunday because I got a special invitation to go someplace. But anyway, this other person says, I watch your videos along other YouTubers and rekindling an urge of what it does to work comes in, and I get excited about creating content. Well, good for you, because you ought to be excited about something. See, I want to be excited about something. But anyway, what was the catalyst to you saying yes to TV and podcasts? I said no to TV 3 times. They kept calling, and I remember I was in my living room. We had blue carpet, and I was talking to Jill, and I said, you're asking me to step away from, I just got reelected judge by 80% of the vote, which was the first time, because I only won by 6 votes the first time. And I said, you're asking me to leave this job for one, that you only guarantee me 13 weeks of pay on. I said, I can't do that. And she kept calling back, and she said, and I said, well, can I ask? I said, why did you take this job? And she goes, well, I moved from from New York to LA to take this job, and the job was power of attorney to take this job. And she said, okay. And she told me all those. She says, I am so sure about these two shows, Power of Attorney, Divorce Court. I bought a house out here. I'm staying out here. I've moved permanently. I have comfort. So I told my husband, I said, I can't do it. Can't do it. Too risky. Not my thing. Not going to do it. And he said, if you never take a risk, I mean, that's what you said about doing the judge thing. You said you couldn't win, and you yelled at me when I... We were hollering at each other a lot by the end of that election because there was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot was going on. But he said, look, if you never take a chance, you don't know what it's going to be like. And I said, yeah, but economically, I can't afford to do that. I said, can you handle 100% of everything if this thing should fall through? I said, we based our lives on both our incomes. So he said, talk to Dean. Dean was an attorney. He ended up being a judge in Cleveland Heights later on, And Dean said, what are you scared of? I said, I don't want to lose. I got a 6-year no-cut contract for X number of dollars a year. Now they're going to tell me, in 13 weeks. So he said, I tell you what. He said, if the show goes away, they'll have to pay you out your judicial contract. And I said, they'll never do that, Dean. And see, that was a real chickified thing to say. I wasn't a court lawyer on estrogen that day. I was just fearful because, we likes to, well, most of us, not all of us, this is not true, but I'm going to take it all out of the male-female realm. I like steady state show, guaranteed, know what's going to happen. And he said, I didn't believe you could do that. I mean, I just thought it was arrogant. He said all they can do is say no, which is very true. But I'm sometimes embarrassed to ask because I think it means... But anyway, they said, yeah, okay. And then the job only lasted 4 months, and I spent the next 5 years at home raising my chilies with full pay, which was fun. And then but anyway, that's the answer to that question. I'm sorry I got carried away. I bet it was more than you wanted to know. Why did I say yes to the podcast? Because I thought I had to do something after my husband died. I didn't have a job and I wasn't working, and I decided to do a podcast, but it was the wrong time because emotionally I was like out to sea, and I started a podcast like within a year of his death. What kind of sense does that make? That was just silly. So I only did 9 episodes and I stopped. Might I do another podcast? I don't know. I don't know is a perfectly rational answer to a whole lot of things. How do you find the confidence to keep recording? I didn't keep recording. Now I record here every day, and it's not a matter of confidence. I'm trying to make it a matter of habit. So, do you watch your videos after you have recorded them? Usually after I publish them, I watch them one time again so I can put time codes into the things that are interesting that are said, but I'm better off extemporaneously. Like if you give me the questions before an interview, the interview is awful. Just awful. But if I walk into something completely unknown and I'm not ready for it, like I remember that time when I first got this gig for Power of Attorney. And I'm just me. And I fly out they said we're going to have a little district meeting or, I don't know, some corporate Fox kind of thing. And it's in Indiana, though, so we thought we'd fly you out so you could meet the people involved. I said, cool. And so I get in there, and I walk in I fly in, blah, 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 I get and the woman slips out, and she said, listen, I want to make sure you understand what you're walking into. And I said it was dinner, but it's more like a thing. She opens the door, full of people, huge, and they were all looking at me because I was the new chick in the room with the taking over the show that was already doing okay, but they needed to be a little more loud and poppy, and I'm loud and poppy. And it was like, ooh. And that's when I do well. You know? Regular stuff, you call me on the phone wrong day, I can't talk. I'll say the wrong thing. I like this up here because I need to wear better shirts or something. So, so there you go. I don't know if that answered how to find the confidence to keep recording. It said how you read the comments and not allow them to plant negative seeds in your mind. I do read the comments, but most of the people who comment are very kind, and sometimes people aren't. But my block game is strong. You know, I don't want to go back and forth, and I'd rather respond to people who are saying nice things than people aren't. And so I read the comments, and I just get rid of the negative ones. And I don't get that many, knock on wood. I try to be cool. I ain't talking about a whole lot of people. I don't want a whole bunch of negativity going on. I'm gonna talk about, let me speak on the current situation with so and so and so and so. I may or may not know who so and so is, and I bet you I don't care what so and so did. I bet you. But anyway, I've got on my favorite lipstick, Canvas Colors. It's the color called Duchess, and I don't know if she makes that anymore. I gotta call her, because if I run out, I'm gonna be upset. But anyhow, listen, y'all have a good day. I hope everything works out for you. And before you leave the house, check your program. What kind of mood are you in? Are you running on some raggedy stuff, or is there light and happiness in your home that you can take out to the rest of the community and share your joy and happiness? Are you cranky? I guess the computer says yes. Adjust for the rest of us as I try to adjust for the rest of y'all. Mostly I make it sometimes. I don't think I was too bad. I even feel guilty about asking them to open a new register. That's where I am, right here on the bubble of what the heck is next. I don't know. So we're gonna get in that widow's room and we're gonna find out. And I try to figure out how to do the live the best way to do it. If anybody's got any experience with YouTube Live and want to give me some suggestions, I would appreciate it, because I don't know what I'm doing. And my children, although they're young, they don't do any social media, so they are of no help. Isn't that terrible? Y'all have a great day. And yeah, okay, fine. Let's go play ball.